JUNGKOOK has always treated Taehyung as someone who was more than important. It's not just about laughter or games, but something deeper, constant care, and unwavering attention, and a presence that remains even in difficult times. When they see each other together, there's an energy that surrounds them. JUNGKOOK doesn't need to express with words what he demonstrates with his actions. Every time he holds Taehyung's hand, looks at him directly, or touches him tenderly, he's making it clear what place Taehyung holds in his life. It's not just that they share time or affectionate gestures. It's that Taehyung becomes JUNGKOOK's priority. Everything he does seems designed to make him feel good, supported, and accompanied. When times get tough, when things don't go as expected, they're both there, holding each other up without fail. There's no attempt to appear close, they are. Small daily actions, such as touching his chin, gently approaching him, or simply standing next to him, are constant signs of what they share. The fact that they don't back away when people are looking at them shows that their relationship doesn't depend on the environment. Whether they're in a crowd or in a private place, their way of treating each other doesn't change. That says much more than any speech. For those who observe them closely, one thing is clear: this isn't an act. It's a relationship that exists beyond what others say or think. Taekook demonstrates a kind of bond that is built without explanation, because it's based on actions, gestures, and decisions that are repeated over and over again. JUNGKOOK, in particular, has made it clear that he wants to see Taehyung happy. He doesn't just support him, he also tries to brighten his world with what he does. He's present in the good times, but also in the difficult ones. There's care in every gesture. In every step, there's a clear intention to make Taehyung feel good. He takes him seriously. He protects him. He values him. There are still people who doubt what happened in that scene, where JUNGKOOK slipped slightly in his chair while very close to Taehyung. Some say it was accidental, others believe it was intentional. The truth is that that moment left much more than a graceful fall. As JUNGKOOK leaned to the side, Taehyung also approached, standing inches from his body. Their reaction wasn't one of surprise or discomfort, but rather natural. This closeness is no longer new or strange to them. And that completely changes the meaning of what was seen. What was most striking was what happened just before the slip. Taehyung stuck his tongue out at JUNGKOOK twice. It wasn't a meaningless gesture. It was playful, but full of intention. JUNGKOOK reacted with a slight but very clear smile. A shy smile that appeared immediately after Taehyung's gesture. This sequence demonstrates the special communication between them. They don't use words, they don't need to say anything to understand each other. Everything happens through gestures shared only between the two of them. That moment became important because it wasn't a one-off. Taehyung quickly noticed it because they know such actions don't happen randomly. The way JUNGKOOK leaned in and how Taehyung ended up near his legs wasn't simply a physical coincidence. It was a situation that, although it may seem small, showed the level of comfort and trust between them. And in that context, even the slip takes on another meaning. It may have been an excuse to close the distance between the two. There are moments that don't need explanations because what you see says it all. In this case, while Taehyung was speaking into the microphone, JUNGKOOK couldn't stop looking at him. His gaze was steady, without distractions. JUNGKOOK remained attentive, completely focused on him. He didn't look away, he didn't act bored, or seek anything other than observing him. This kind of gaze isn't common, it's not something that is given to just anyone. The absolute attention JUNGKOOK gives Taehyung in public situations makes it clear that their connection goes beyond the ordinary. Also, there was a very important detail: JUNGKOOK was biting his lip while looking at him. That gesture, though small, has a lot of meaning. It wasn't a nervous or meaningless reaction. It was something that arose from the way he saw Taehyung. That combination, staring while biting his lip, appears at other times as well. It's an action that has been repeated several times, and it always happens when Taehyung is nearby or doing something that catches Jungkook's attention. These gestures aren't improvised. What happens between them is evident in the details. When someone repeats the same body language every time they're around a specific person, it shows habit and comfort. In the case of Taekook, it's not just the gaze or facial expression. There's also a special way of searching for each other. Jungkook always tends to find Taehyung, even when there are other people around. Whether it's with his eyes, his body, or even when he changes position, he seems to have a personal radar to keep track of him. Every action Jungkook takes toward Taehyung has meaning beyond what it seems. He's not improvising. Every moment he gets close, touches him, looks at him, or simply stays by his side expresses something deeper, a relationship that has strengthened over time and is sustained by truth, not appearances. What we see between them isn't a game or an act. It's something that has grown and affirmed itself day by day. In show business, there are many interactions that may seem real but aren't. However, Taekook breaks with that. The way they look at each other, how their bodies approach each other effortlessly, without tension, without fear, shows a trust that only builds when there's something strong behind it. They don't shy away from physical contact. They don't hide when they share a caress or when they stop to touch each other's faces. That speaks for itself. The fact that Jungkook consistently prioritizes Taehyung, even when there are no cameras, reveals that what they have doesn't need external validation. If anyone looks closely, they'll notice that the way they are together doesn't change depending on the place or time. Everything remains the same: the gestures, the glances, the small attentions. They don't act to please others. They behave as they are, without filters. And that can't be faked. Their relationship isn't sustained by big words or public declarations. It's sustained by the small things: gently touching a chin, holding a hand without fear, being there when the other needs it. And that, although simple, is much stronger than any speech. Because such constant and present affection can't be faked. Jungkook demonstrates with his actions that Taehyung has a special place in his life. The relationship between Jungkook and Taehyung has shown a clear change over time. What were once small, brief, almost hidden moments are now frequent, natural, and visible to everyone. This evolution is not only noticeable in the number of gestures between them, but in the way they make them, unhurriedly, without avoiding contact, without looking to the side. It's no longer necessary to hide what they share. On the contrary, they show it calmly, as part of their lives. What we saw at the moment of the slip was no exception. It's part of a larger sequence that has been repeated in different situations. Taehyung and Jungkook don't back away when cameras are present. Their behavior doesn't change just because they're in public. This is important because it indicates that what they show isn't staged or temporary. Their behavior remains the same, regardless of the environment. And this consistency is what makes many Taehyung fans recognize the value of what is seen. There's a very clear line between what is an act and what is real. In their case, every gesture, every glance, every shared smile leaves no doubt. They don't seek attention. They don't exaggerate. They just act naturally. When Taehyung sticks out his tongue and Jungkook responds with a smile, they do it for each other, not for the audience. That's the difference. They're talking to each other, using gestures that have a special meaning just for the two of them. Another important point is how their actions go beyond play. Although many scenes may seem fun or casual, behind them lies an intention that grows over time. Every time they touch, get closer, or lock eyes for longer than usual, there's a silent message. The message is that they're together, that their relationship has grown stronger, and that they don't need to hide it. They're not afraid of being seen, because they have nothing to pretend. The most striking thing about Taehyung and Jungkook's relationship isn't a single specific moment, but rather how many of those moments share a common pattern of behavior. Over time, it's been noticed that there are clear patterns between them. These aren't random gestures or unprovoked reactions. They're signals that are repeated over and over again. Touching each other freely, physically seeking each other out without concern for the surroundings, or communicating with their eyes are some of the actions that are always present when they're together. These gestures don't have to seem perfect. The important thing is that they always emerge when the other is close. Adjusting one another, placing a hand on the other's body without fear, touching clothing, getting closer than necessary. None of this is something that just happens. When these behaviors are repeated in different places, at different times, and without prior preparation, they indicate a habit. And that habit is built over time, from a place of complete trust. Jungkook and Taehyung don't show discomfort when doing so. They never seem tense when they're around each other. Even in public spaces, when there are cameras or interviews, they don't change their body language. And that's important. It means they're not acting or exaggerating what they're doing. They simply don't feel the need to distance themselves or pretend otherwise. They act freely, as if they were alone, even if thousands of people are watching. When analyzing these patterns from the perspective of Taekookers, every detail carries weight. It's not just about seeing a nice gesture or a curious scene. It's about understanding how those small acts become evidence of a strong relationship. Touching each other's shoulders repeatedly, leaning their heads closer to each other, moving their bodies closer, these are physical signs of a bond that has grown silently, without needing to be explained.